why do you agree that perfectionism is it's wrapped in there with selfishness?
It's in there. Of course, I think in the end, or maybe for me or something like that, I'm trying to do better than I did before.
Okay.
When I do stuff, I try to do better than I did before in the last one. Maybe it's a lateral move, but I can't do worse. And sometimes that'll spiral into like, oh, I already did this drawing that nobody saw months ago. I can't fill in the blanks in this script with a drawing that I only know that I did months ago. Like, it has to be a brand new drawing from a new angle, even though that angle would have worked, for this particular situation. And then you kind of just sort of get in this like, who you performing for? Am I doing this for like?
Oh my gosh!
Essentially, you wind up doing it for yourself. Get it done, get it on paper, because also when you do perfectionism, you hold up a bunch of other people too.
Yes.
If you're part of a team, you're gonna hold up a lot of people, and it's not the you show. It's the teamwork.
Woo.
So
that's good. You said it's not the you show.
It's not the sometimes it's one of those things. Yeah, that's
good. Artists, creatives, and designers. I'm your host, Electra, and welcome to Dream Aloud Art, where we have educating, inspiring, and motivating conversations with creatives from around the world. Show some love and support by subscribing, liking this video, and uplift another creative by sharing this video. Let's tune in to another amazing conversation. Let's go. Artists, creatives, and designers, welcome to Dream Aloud Art on YouTube. And we have a very special guest. Like, all of our guests are special. I'm just realizing, like, I always say that because all of our guests are special. But definitely Phillip is also known as End of Days on Mars, and that's his website. Also is End of Days on Mars and all that good stuff. But Phillip is unique as far as him and I are concerned, because we're both in the same city. We're both in Richmond, Virginia. So I'm gonna give his quick intro, and then of course we're going to hear more from Phillip. So Phillip is he has been a freelance comic artist for over 8 years. And so he's currently working in storyboarding for Lion Forge Animation. And he's done character design and background design and actual animation. So he's done just a world of things. And I'm sure he's done more than what we're mentioning, like most of us. Okay. All like those who own being a creative, we do a lot of different things. He also is into, and now I'm going to say this is sequential art. Yeah.
Sequential art. Fancy word for like comics and storyboarding things.
Okay.
You tell a story with your art. Yeah. So, that's the on paper.
Please welcome Phillip Johnson. It's a pleasure having you.
It's good to be here. This is great. Yes. Yeah. Loving it.
Y'all. So just a quick heads up, y'all. I interviewed Phillip years ago, years at least being over 1 year ago. And we just don't know where that is as far as the scale, as far as the time is concerned. But it has definitely been a little while. And that was on Instagram. And that's when I was focusing on Instagram interviews. So Phillip, welcome. Tell us a little bit about yourself besides some of the information we just heard.
Okay,
if you just met a complete stranger, how would you introduce yourself?
That's a good question. Most of it we've got in the little
information,
copy, I guess is what they call it. Yeah. I'm 34 years old currently. I'm living in
y'all. We're getting
the bio here.
He is giving.
I don't know what my blood type is.
This is his profile. Now he's giving you his profile. Like,
right.
I gave a little information. So wait a minute. Stop. Hold on. I'm calling it right now, Phillip.
Boom.
So if you met a complete stranger, you would tell them, "Hey, I'm Phillip. I'm 34 years old."
Okay. If I met like an artist or something like that, I would be like, because I think like it's important to know the age of people. Like, because sometimes, you never know like how long someone's journey takes. So like, hey, listen, I'm 34 years old and this is where I'm at right now, you know?
Okay, respect. I got you.
Because sometimes you'll meet somebody who's like a professional or something like that. And it's just like, yeah, man, I can't believe I'm turning 25 next year. And it's just like, that's crazy, man. That's nuts. Or like, I'm working with a guy now, and he's 57 years old, and he does capoeira and stuff like that. He ran circles around us doing capoeira. I couldn't keep up with it. So like everybody is like on their different like, journey, It's important to know where people are at.
Absolutely. Okay, you are right about that. So everyone, in a nutshell, Phillip is a 34-year-old young man who lives in Richmond and has had 8 years of freelance comic art skills under his belt. So that's his interview over. We're done.
Done. We did it. That's it. We covered it all.
We need to know. Okay, so give us a quick rundown for what your journey has looked like growing up. Yeah,
sure.
Hold on. Wait. There's more. There's more to the question.
Okay. So ready. I'm ready.
Yes, I know you are wired up. Which is great. So what has your journey looked like as far as your upbringing is concerned? This is, I'll give a range. This is maybe, before 10 years old. Did you know you were into what you're into currently? Did you identify yourself as embracing being creative or being expressive? Like, what did that look like for you as a young child?
Okay. I guess my earliest memories of like, finding out what I wanted to do and stuff like that, comes from like my mom. She used to draw stick figures on well, she used to be an artist too, but I would always ask her to draw like stick figures for me and stuff like that. So, I'd be like, oh, draw this for me. Can you draw some stick figures? And she'd be like, oh my God, yeah, fine.
Oh, snap. Hey, that's awesome.
And so then, like, in kindergarten, one day I was just like, doodling around, and then like, oh, it kind of dawned upon me, like, oh, I could do that myself. Like, I can make my own drawings. Mm-hmm. And so it's been sort of like, it's been love ever since then.
Yeah.
And they also used to ask me a lot when I was a kid, like, what do you want to be when you grow up? Like, I guess, you should ask your kid, like, what they want to be when they grow up. And I kind of settled on like cartoonist because I didn't know what the word was at the time. So it's been my sort of like life path, ever since then. So, I was always that kid in school who could draw. Oh man, Phillip could draw. Watched a lot of cartoons. I watched all of the Fox Kids blocks. Dragon Ball Z. They used to come on like 6 a.m. or something like that.
Oh my gosh.
Good stuff. Just cartoons have always been my thing. I've always been the guy who's been like, if you want to know stuff about cartoons, you talk to Phillip, like he knows like Dragon Ball Z stuff, or people can like come to me and talk to me about like Beast Wars and stuff like that when like they have friends who would talk about that kind of stuff. So
right.
I've always kind of just been into it. I've always kind of been drawing. Grade school, middle school, high school, went to college, VCU. Did genetic imaging there.
Hold on. Let me ask this question before we get into college or any kind of, education, formal education with the arts. What was going through your mind as a student in high school? And what I'm getting to more specifically is, was there any kind of like, I can't wait until energy? Like, I can't wait until like, I don't have to do this all day as a student, like, or let me say it differently. I can't wait until I can do fill in the blank more. And was that drawing like, so what was the mentality like?
I guess that kind of would be, yeah. Like, I mean, I think in high school is when I really started like jotting down like ideas for stories. I haven't ever made good on those, and those stories were terrible that I just wrote down. But still, just like in the idea of like just sort of like planning for like things that I want to do in the future. Because what was big at the time in high school? I think you still had to go to Barnes and Noble to like get manga and stuff like that. So I was really into like buying manga. I was into Bleach before I got into Naruto, so I was really into Bleach. Like, yeah, I thought it was so
Bleach
cool.
is an anime. For those that don't know, Bleach is the name of an anime series. Yeah. Is that the best way I can say that?
Just
anime?
about, yeah, I would say.
What do you call it? What would you call it then? I just call it an anime.
No, I mean, no, you had it right. Yeah.
Okay.
Anime, manga, Japanese comics and
Manga.
cartoons.
Okay. I had to say that because someone mentioned Bleach to me before, and I was like, "What are you saying?" Like, I didn't understand the context. I'm like, "What is a Bleach?" So, okay, go ahead. I just wanted to insert that one.
No, that's really funny. I always think that everyone knows all this stuff already. No. So I'll try and be like a lot more like descriptive.
Now you know, like, not everyone knows, right? Yeah.
Because that's my problem. I always think that everyone knows like all the art stuff. We all live in our own like basically like
in our own worlds now. With it.
So like all my stuff's like art and algorithm or like algorithm, all the anime and stuff like that. So I assume everybody knows what's like popping. But I'll try and like be more descriptive. But yeah, just liked a lot of anime and manga in high school. I was lucky enough to get a group of friends who were like watching Toonami, every night, because I think that was when like Toonami
stopped. Yeah, I used to watch Toonami. Yeah.
Yeah. So, we talked about
didn't they have like Samurai Jack? Was Samurai Jack on that too?
Samurai Jack did make it to Toonami eventually.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
But it played on Cartoon Network before then too. So it played during regular Cartoon Network. I never watched the end of like regular Samurai Jack. Actually, I never watched the 5th season, but it's great. And we could talk about that more for like storyboarding, because that's a fantastic show for like communicating story without having to like do a lot of dialogue and cuts and stuff like that. So, really great show. Gendy Tartakovsky, phenomenal director. Animation director, I should say. Well, live action maybe.
Or Samurai Jack. That's who you're talking
about. Or Samurai Jack. Too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. He's done like a lot of stuff.
Samurai.
I think it was Dexter's Lab too. I might be wrong.
That was my joint. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Well, that's opening it up a whole lot of thoughts I haven't had in a while. Yeah, Dexter's Lab.
Let's go back.
Okay, I gotta come back to present. Okay, so here.
No, I'm talking about let's go back in time. Let's go back to Dexter's Lab and Two Stupid Dogs and all that.
I know. But, yeah. But go ahead.
High school. That's when I really kind of started like getting into more like anime centric stuff. Like I guess that's when I kind of knew what it was. So like you get more into like Shonen Jump. But I think Bleach was my major thing. I didn't really get into like One Piece, which I love, and Naruto till like after like college and high school.
Okay.
But, I did watch the One Piece anime though for like Fox. That's when they switched over to like Fox. Love that.
So your head. So the mentality that you had when it came to what you were looking forward to doing. What was that like? What were you looking forward to doing? Like, say remember I was saying about high school into college, like what?
Yeah.
What's running through your head? You were interested in all those things. You have, your group of friends who are also interested in the same thing.
Yeah.
What were you looking forward to at that time?
My thing at the time was I still wanted to do animation. I still wanted to do cartoons. And that's kind of what I was working towards. I thought I could do like kind of comics in the meantime. Because I thought that'd be like easier than animation, but turns out it's like just as hard. It's all the same amount of work, no matter what you do. It all takes a lot of work. But yeah, really big into animation. I used to like, since like in the early days of YouTube, you'd have to like get bits and pieces of like anime here and there, like cuts and pieces. I'd have to buy the episodes on DVD with my favorite like shots.
Oh yeah,
favorite like directors and stuff like that. Because every episode is directed by a different person. So like you'd have to find a specific one that you like and then like cop that one.
I didn't know that. Every episode is directed by a different person. That's what you said?
Yes, but also people come back and direct different episodes too. But there's several directors on animated shows. So like, have you ever noticed, and this is a thing that used to really get me, that I used to love watching old Pokemon, the style would change a little bit. The style of the show would kind of like ever so slightly tweak itself. Like you're watching an episode of Pokemon and it's kind of all right. And then you'd watch one episode of Pokemon the next episode and it's like,
that's so true.
Animation gets like an upgrade. It's
that's
like,
so true.
What's up?
That is so true. I didn't understand. I personally don't understand that, like why that is.
It's it comes down to storyboarding. It comes down to the style of the director, which I'm learning now. We'll get into that later, but style of the director, storyboarding, whether they storyboard the episode themselves or they sort of do revisions over what someone else has done.
Okay.
Because I guess Sailor Moon's a good example of that.
All right. Yeah, I used to watch that
it's
too.
Like it's a great show. I'm like rewatching it. I'm like stuck in season 4 because it's a little kind of boring, but it's fine. It's gonna pick up in season 5. But you'll notice like the characters will like look one way in one episode, and then there's a real specific director, and he'll like kind of soften up the characters, and they'll look completely different. And I like those episodes the best. With this one specific, I forget what his name is. I hate the fact that I forgot his name, but great stuff. It's animation takes a lot of people. A lot of people leave their fingerprints in the mix, and if you're eagle-eyed, you can like pick out what you like and sort of like kind of like follow the trail.
I'm sure you're talking the language of the the storyboarder. That's not even a word.
Oh.
Is it? Storyboarder.
Oh, well, I guess
storyboard artist.
Storyboard artist. There you go.
Okay.
That works out. Yeah.
Okay. Well, so what were now the transition into college? What was your focus when you were in college?
Still animation.
Okay, so you stuck. Boy, you done like kick that thing out. That's awesome.
I'm not. Yeah, I'm not fumbling for meaning in this world here. I like to draw.
Yes.
I want to make like cool stuff. I kind of solidified my life path in like kindergarten, which is probably a little dangerous, but I really kind of stuck with it. I guess I
feel like
I got lucky.
Yeah, and before we dive or continue further, having to do with your the experience in college and what that looked like for you, you just mentioned about what did you just say about kind of like you locked in your purpose as a kindergartner? You said you used different verbiage,
like
which is kind of dangerous.
I guess.
You what?
Yeah. You said you said I wasn't fumbling for meaning.
But you kind of locked it in when you were a kid. But what I find and what psychologists have found, therapists understand, we all generally understand that there's something there's a seed that's planted at a young age. So we can go around the world if we like to, and we can explore all kinds of things, but there are certain core things that we keep going back to, you know what I'm saying? And so, that's, I would say that's good that you identified certain things that you just know you have not only a knack for, but an interest in. And if you have an interest in it, developing your skills so you become better at it, And so I think I just wanted to say that is commendable. I don't necessarily think that's like a red flag, if a child identifies something that they really love, it may look a certain way because maybe that's not always nurtured. Maybe that's not always, people are like, well, maybe you should try this. Now I've experienced that where it's like, hey, maybe try this. Hey, maybe try that. And then it's almost like, I'll use something very simple. It's like eating something that you absolutely love, like this fruit or this vegetable or this whatever. It's like, oh, I love this. This is so good. And then people trying to encourage you to explore, right? That doesn't mean there's something wrong with the other dishes, but you and I and most of our listeners all know that there are certain things we'll go back to, whether it's food, whether it's, our sleeping habits, whether it's our eating habit. It doesn't and especially art. As a creative, there are certain things that just fit better than others. Even if we're actually really good at other things. This is something I teach artists. You like you may be super good, but it may not feel as fulfilling. Yeah,
absolutely. Or I'll even touch on that too, because I talked about, I wanted to be a cartoonist. Right. And then I've always wanted to do art and be creative and make stories for people to follow. but like, the medium has shifted, every now and again. Like I was really into comics before I just got this job, which was like a couple months back. But doing this job is when I, was like the goal from like all those years ago. But I pivoted towards comics for like a while, for most of my like, professional career. I was doing like, comics here and there, and maybe a little bit of animation for like music videos, but like the goal was the same.
Wow.
The medium changed a couple times.
Yes.
So yeah, as long as you keep the straight path. And I guess like my thing was like, maybe it's bad to like, lock in what you want to do in kindergarten. Because like, what if I was like terrible at it the whole time, objectively terrible at it the whole time?
Yes.
It's nice to have as the fallback, but sometimes it's a little dangerous because some people might just like beeline towards something and just forsake everything else around them.
Very true.
That tunnel vision, I guess.
That's true.
But it is, I will say that I think it's very important for everyone to nurture that creativity like as a kid. Because you're always going to need something to like, even if you want to be an artist as a kid and you wind up being a doctor or something like that, it'd be great to like still have art on the sidelines, still have
absolutely. And this is, I think that just we're still on track because we're still on track, but this is we're touching on some really good points here because it's important. Like I know there are plenty of people who identify themselves as an artist, as a creative, as a designer in whatever capacity that is. And they are swearing up and down that if they're not an entrepreneur, that shame on me because I should be doing this full time. And they beat themselves up because they're working a job and they're doing that. You know what I'm saying? Like there's a certain, I used to be in that headspace at times. I really was like, oh my gosh, what am I doing here? But the best thing that I continued to do was to at least appreciate that I got the job and I'm able to take care of myself and still work on that passion because there's a certain fulfillment that provides. That's not like to be like, what are you doing? You're not a real artist because you're not full time. Like it's like chill. It's all good. Yeah. Matter of fact, the more the merrier. So if I'm able to have multiple income, then let me do that.
Yeah. Look, and I'll even point this out. Working as a professional artist gives you even less time to work on the stuff you really want to work on. I've talked to like several people who I'm working with about that. And once art is like your like full-time job, then money making comes first, eating comes first. Travel money to see family comes first. Yeah. So you'll be putting that passion project on the back burner for like probably a couple more years than you realize. So like if you're working a 9 to 5, if you're working at McDonald's, if you're working like as a cop or something like that, I'm just throwing names out there. Damn, if you come back, it's time to do what you want to do.
I'm telling you,
that's freedom. Yeah.
Yep. There is a certain freedom to it, a certain freedom, and again, if you want to do the full-time entrepreneurial thing, I support that wholeheartedly. If that's what you want to do, like as long as you're the one that knows you're choosing that, not out of like pressure or I better do that because, people won't think I'm serious.
Absolutely.
You could be a serious artist and keep your job. Like, ain't nobody like.
More power to them. I know people who do great stuff and they work like other jobs. What was it? Astro Boy was written by a dentist. Like the guy was like.
This is okay. What is up? Okay, all right. Let me calm down because
sure.
At my dentist office, the gentleman who is over several dental facilities, he paints and his paintings are at every facility. You know what I'm saying? Like,
there you go.
So what are we saying here? Like,
exactly. So as long as you keep that spirit, as long as you keep that creativity alive, that's the main thing. That's awesome. And plus now he owns his own facility, so he can.
It's more money. Ain't nothing wrong with that.
Exactly. He gets all the supplies and free like publicity he wants.
I'm telling you, like he has literally set up his own galleries. And let me add this too before we continue on your college journey too. let me
For
say
sure.
this. When I was at how do I know this? How do I know this? How do I know this about the dentist? I went there for an appointment, and while I'm sitting there, you know, having the art eye, right? So I'm sitting there and then I'm looking at these beautiful paintings, and I'm like, and of course, all these people that are in there, they're on their phones. They're not even worried about me.
They don't know.
So I decided to lean into it. So I stood up and I walked up to the paintings and I'm examining them like I'm in a gallery. Like
knowing the brush strokes.
I'm looking at it from the left. I'm looking at it from the right. Like I'm like, dang, this is like, is this like an original? Like I'm this is not like TJ Maxx art, you know, like store bought art,
home brewed. Like
I'm like, this is what. And so I went to the counter and I asked them, like, you know, what are, like, I noticed they had the same signature. I said, like, where do these paintings or like, where do they come from? And that's how I found out. But lean into it, you know, just to co-sign what Philip's saying, y'all. To my podcast listeners, I'm going to pull up his Instagram profile so you can see some of his work. And so make sure you check out the YouTube video. But yeah, to all my listeners, y'all, just hear that. That was, you know, just a really big burst of energy from both Philip and I. Like, you cannot, like, let me rewind and just say this. Where you're at is where you need to be. So so embrace that, embrace that, whatever it looks like.
100%. Yeah. Because I mean, like, listen, like we were saying, like you get more time to do what you want. Well, if you have the energy. I mean, you know, let's not like, you know, 9 to 5s like we talk and all that other stuff. But, you know, should the option be there, should you get a burst of energy or time to yourself, you get to do art like on your terms. And that's invaluable.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I love it. All right. I'm jotting down. Hold on. What did I just say? Okay. I'm jotting down words for the word game. And I usually pull words from our conversation to use for the word game. All right.
Smart.
So let's talk about, and I'm not that I am hoping you had that many challenges, but most of the time we just do as human beings, whether that's a challenge from the external people around us, the internet, our own thoughts, our own judgment, man versus self,
life in general,
man versus self, man versus whatever the other things are. So what were some of the challenges, if there were any that stand out right now, as far as you starting to really, now I'm saying become really serious, because there's something about the college level where it's like this energy of like, it's about to happen. I'm about to actually thrive after this. I'm going to dive into the, you know, into my career, you know, so that kind of energy, of course, depending on where people are at. Some people have been working for 20 years and then go back to college, but I'll just say, you know, transitioning immediately from or graduating from high school into college. And what were some of those kind of challenges that you had for starting to hone in on wanting to be, an artist of your capacity? I'm not going to go down, you know, the whole
but
yes, an artist of your capacity. What were some of those challenges?
I'd say, I mean, just figuring out, like, narrowing down, I guess, what I actually wanted to do. Because, like, you know, first you got to find the college. If you're going to college, if you're gonna go that route, you got to find the college that has your like major in it. We went to like Howard. We went to like some other colleges around town, but there was not a lot of people invest in the arts and stuff like that. So VCU was kind of perfect. They had an animation program, and it kind of just went from there. You know, it did the art foundation.
VCU is big.
It's got a lot. Yeah, it's a huge campus. And it was nice because they had like an animation, but it was kind of suck though, because like animation was like melded into the video department too. So instead of really like focusing in on strictly animation and the process, the pipeline that you know, professionals go through, it was mixed in with video work. So it was more on the sort of like creative side rather than the I'd say like the technical side. You know? Okay. So it's more focused on like, you know, the work you produce rather than how to produce that work. And I don't know if it's like changed in recent years. I don't know if they've gotten some like industry vets or things of that nature. But yeah, I guess it was project focused and not so much on how to create the project. Cause like looking on how things are done now, I'm kind of like, wow, like, yeah, this is pretty different. I would go, when I did animation in college, I would animate on like ones. So like every new drawing would be a new like pose. And a much easier way of doing animation would be like, keyframing.
Am I calling you? Are you? So you're? Is there like a blanket style, like calling you an animator? Is that like the cover for everything that falls like you do everything under animator?
I think it's kind of hard to say because I don't really do the animation. I do some animated elements to my storyboards.
Right. The storyboarding though. The storyboarding. Yeah. That's what you do at Lion Forge. My current job is
storyboard artist. Yeah, that's my current job. So storyboard artist.
With Lion Forge.
With Lion Forge, yes.
Okay, so I'm going to, storyboarding. Okay, so go ahead.
Yeah, storyboard artist. But yeah, okay. That's my current, just the current hat that I'm wearing. But yeah, and I mean, aside from those things, the process of making animation, stuff like that, it's pretty different in the industry, as opposed to how some projects are done in school. Thankfully, we have YouTube now. I've been able to I've still past college, I've learned a lot, still going towards my career from YouTube. So there's a lot of people who share their experiences on YouTube. So that's great that you're doing this here as well.
Yeah. Thanks.
But yeah, aside from that, time management, that's always kind of been my thing. That's my kryptonite. Oof, man.
So most of your challenges have just been your own personal challenges. You haven't really had it from externally, like anyone telling you oh, Phillip, are you sure you want to do that? You've been, and I'm not saying you got to think of someone, but usually when I say challenges, a big one, of course, is our own inner dialogue that's challenging us. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I had my mom, stuff like that. And she, didn't really know how to make a career in animation. So, I don't think a lot of I say a lot of Black people in general don't really see how a career in the arts technically will provide you money because you want
absolutely
to be set up.
Absolutely.
So I got the most minimal, I want to say the most minimal pushback on that. Oh, Phillip, don't forget to take a business class, something like that.
That is minimal.
The most minimal. Most of the people, since I've been drawing so long, have been really kind and encouraging to me.
Right.
A lot of people see that.
I love that.
Is the thing that I do. Yeah, I'm so lucky. I'm so lucky to have the people I have in my life.
Yeah, that's a huge blessing.
Yeah. So, I mean, if anything, the most challenges I faced, aside from a few external ones here and there, money, blah, 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 time, it's just been myself, Am I doing this right? Oh, I'm taking too long to do this. Oh, I'll overpromise myself to too many different projects and I'll, scramble to get.
And now it's crunch time for those projects. Got it.
You want to do the best you can, but you got to make shortcuts, which isn't terrible. Limitation breeds creativity. There have been a couple of times where I've been down to the wire and I've found creative solutions.
Hold on. I need to hold on. Unacceptable that we can't move on until I figure what. Okay, you said limitation breeds creativity.
Oh yeah, that's a fun one.
Well, who said that? Okay, so wait, explain.
I guess I don't know where I heard it from. I hate the fact that I don't know where. If you Google it, they'll have a Wikipedia article on it or something like that.
So tell us what that means to you. Tell us what that means to you.
Yeah. Limitation breeds creativity, as in the less you have to work with, whether that be maybe time, maybe materials, maybe let's go with that, time and materials. I'm sure there's other ways, but you'll find a solution to get something done. And sometimes you can find a really creative solution to get something done. I'll hit you with
That's fire. That is good. Go ahead. Go ahead.
That's a philosophy I live my life by. Because you watch, like, I don't know, I'm getting back to old cartoons. I love cartoons and animation and stuff like that. Right. You'll see that, like, in a lot of these shows, sometimes they'll cut corners. When two characters are talking, it's a big dialogue scene, they'll cut to a background shot of like of a building or something like that. Like, someone's talking about, like, oh man, I don't know if I can do this. What if, like, I can't be the chosen one in time? And you cut to a flower and then a petal falls off or something like that. Yeah. It's creative. You find creative solutions to work around problems.
That's good.
Yeah.
Well, see, I thought you were, and I thank you for sharing that, because when you said that, I was thinking of procrastination, that kind of energy, as though, like, oh, I don't have enough time. Now I have to come up with something. But that's a different kind of energy. A bit of it too. Yeah, but that's a different kind of energy that we carry, which is slightly a bit stressful. But I see what you're talking about, because it's becoming resourceful. So you're able, it's like, this is all you have to work with. Here's $20. We're going to stretch the 20 and see how long that's going to take. See how far that will take you. See what you can do with it. If you have the desire to live, if you have the desire to survive, you have the desire to do whatever it is, here's the $20 and run with that. That's good. That's really good.
And and I can tell you several procrastination stories where that worked out too. But yes,
well, no, we're not going to talk about that, because we're not going to promote anything that
we're not going to promote
kind of like any kind of limitation. Pressure, that absolutely dominoes on the physical body. We're not going to do that. That's a lot of.
It's
pressure.
not fun. It's a consequence of actions, not a play, not a game mode time.
It's
bad. It's not something I'm proud of. So when we talk about things that have, like, held me back, procrastination has held me back. I've had to come up with solutions, but, like, your boy is the one who's at fault here.
And it's like, that's a completely, that's a different ball game. But let me kind of that quote about the limitation breeds creativity, that also made me think of something that tends to happen with me, and and I'm wondering if you experience that and what your feedback is on what I'm about to share. So sometimes I'll make a decision for something, like, okay, I'm going to take care of 1 and 2. And it's after a commitment has been made that a certain wiring starts to happen, where it's like solutions to do 1 and 2 will come. So saying it differently, if I wait until a solution comes to me before I make the decision, it seems like it won't happen. I'll have to make the decision, and then the solution starts to come into play. Has that ever
there you go.
Does that even make sense?
I get it. Sort of like, I guess it's kind of the idea of, like, putting a deadline on something. I mean, that's the broadest sense I can think of making that. Sure.
A deadline is making a decision that something needs to be finished. So a decision has been made to say it needs to be finished by this time. And then all of a sudden, solutions start to come.
Solutions start coming. You got to start, like, thinking.
Okay. Deadline. That's a simple example, but it's the same kind of thing happens.
Principle, right?
Right. So let me bounce back to the challenge, and thank you for your feedback. I was just wondering about that. So let's bounce back to the challenges. So most of your challenges have just been your own inner dialogue and just kind of managing your time, your resources, the information you need, or making certain commitments, and then trying to, like, balance all of that. So have you, and this is general because of course I want you to narrow it down. What has been, say, the greatest trial that you've had to go through as an artist?
The greatest trial. I'd say a lot of them are sort of like, I guess, sort of just money based. I've got this project. Here's the budget for it. and you want to do like maybe like the best work possible. And sometimes you can get in your own head, get a little perfectionist about it. I'll take like forever to make sure these rough sketches are perfect, even though I'm going to be covering them up later on. That'll spiral into like more time needed. And then the money doesn't match up for like, I'll take my budget and sort of like double the time needed to complete that budget. But then like, where's the money come from? You got to work for free, Phillip, because you didn't plan accordingly, or you didn't let something go when you needed to let something go.
Right.
So I'd say most of the time, like some of the hardest challenges I've had are just like working on something that I'm really excited for, and then just completely screwing up the timeline because like I want this to look like this. I want this character to like lean on this like, thing in particular, and I want them to look like they're really hurt and they want to cry. But like, the story just says like, oh, she tired and she slumps down. But I'm like, oh, like what if she was like burnt out and she's like crying and so I'll add extra things to things, and I'll mix up a timeline. So yeah, a lot of stuff like that. I've had to basically rely on the kindness of strangers a couple times to just like family members, because I just completely screwed up a deadline and I had to like couldn't do anything else but this work for like a month. So it's like, okay, like you really got to stretch out those like chicken breasts. You really got to like make that salad like last a little bit longer.
Absolutely.
Like, I did it to myself. So like,
right. That's
about that.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like, and of course that's, you're explaining a particular situation, but there's the, I'm going to reference what you were saying about the perfectionist, that perfectionist. Now we may be diving very deep with that, because that in itself is a challenge. And when it comes to the idea of being a perfectionist, I feel like one of the a great practice to relax this idea of being a perfectionist is to show your work. Matter of fact, show some of your like kind of good work that you think is kind of good. Show it to someone who has no idea about that world. Show it to them and they will be mind blown. They're going to be in awe. Show it to someone who works a corporate job all day and night. Show it to them, and then they're like, "Whoa!" So what it does?
That's great.
What it does to us when we experience that, when we try that out, it reminds us that everybody just has their own point of view, and so we're just too in our own head about what that's going to look like to. I'm not sure, to whomever, even if someone is going to review your work, and we may be so like, oh my gosh, like I want to make sure it looks 1, 2, and 3. And it's like, it's actually good where it's at, it just depends on what we're doing, but that's always a way to relax, where you're at with a project.
And, I mean, I'll add on to that too. Sometimes like, I kind of think about the end product a lot of the time. And how, like, you spend so much time getting something perfect. I'll put in like 2 hours into this drawing of this like background and this one panel.
Right.
And like, in the end, with comics or with animation, someone's just going to watch it for like 20 minutes and then, move on to the next thing. All that. Because the viewers are not all of the viewers, or the majority of the viewers. What's that? Yeah. They're not going to study your work.
They're not looking at it with a comb. Yeah, I was doing this because I was going to say a magnifying glass. They're not looking at it like that. And I used to deal with that as an instructor. So as an instructor, I was like, okay, these are the things I'm going to go over in class and all of this. And I had a senior instructor. She told me, if I forget to cover something, or if I don't do an exercise or practice, she said, just remember that the students don't know my notes. Like the students have no clue. They have no clue that I forgot something. They don't like that. Doesn't even matter to them. And when she said that, I was like, that's so good.
There you go. Right. It's a blessing and a curse, Yeah.
Yeah. They don't know all of that. We just be up here. So, but yeah, that is a huge, or it can be a huge challenge or hindrance. I feel like it's wonderful to be detail oriented and like notice different things and say, okay, we need to move this, but it's the energy behind that thought, so if we're gonna, if you know that perfectionist feels more of like stress, where it's like, oh man, like I gotta, I'm not sure how I can put that into words, but it would feel more like stress as opposed to detail oriented, like, okay, let's just fix the picture frame to look like that. Okay, we're good, we're fine. Okay.
I think it comes with experience. You'll eventually learn when to let things go. That's learning when to let things go is pretty important, because it's like,
that's good. Yes. So when do you let things go, Philip? Like, when would that be for everyone? Not that your answer has to answer it for everyone, but I'm just saying, what does that generally mean for knowing when to let certain things go?
For sure. I think the main thing is you have to communicate the idea of what you want. If the idea is communicated, anything you do after that is, sprinkles on the cake or something like that. And like we were saying, like, everything that goes into it, but like, in the end, the thing that you give out to people, they might not care. Some of them might, and some of them won't. You kind of have to like, it seems kind of like mean to say, but you kind of have to divorce yourself from like the final product in a way, and like
let it breathe. Yeah, just let it.
Just let it go, man. Like I did it, and it's done. It was made. And the fact that it got made is super awesome.
Absolutely.
I can go back on my projects and be like, oh, I wish I did this different. I wish everybody's gonna have that. But like in the end, what you made is what matters the most.
That's right. Yes. Okay. Hold on now. Hold on. Let's touch on this. Is perfectionism rooted a bit in selfishness?
Absolutely. I was going to say ego. So like, yeah, absolutely. You hit the nail on the head right there. Like that's
wait, so tell me your thoughts on that, though, as far as why you agree with that. Why do you agree that perfectionism is kind of, it's wrapped in there with selfishness?
It's in there. Of course, I think in the end, or maybe for me or something like that, I'm trying to do better than I did before.
Okay.
When I do stuff, I try to do better than I did before in the last one. Maybe it's a lateral move, but I can't do worse. And sometimes that'll spiral into like, oh, I already did this drawing that nobody saw months ago. I can't fill in the blanks in this script with a drawing that I only know that I did months ago. Like it has to be a brand new drawing from a new angle, even though that angle would have worked, for this particular situation. And then you kind of just sort of get in this like, who you performing for? Am I doing this for like?
Oh my gosh!
Essentially, you wind up doing it for yourself. Get it done, get it on paper, because also when you do perfectionism, you hold up a bunch of other people too.
Yes.
If you're part of a team, you're gonna hold up a lot of other people. And it's not the you show. It's the teamwork.
Woo.
So
that's good. You said it's not the you show.
It's not the sometimes it's one of those things. Yeah, that's
good. No, that's good. That's why I'm laughing. It's good. That's so good. And I want to branch off of that idea too, because sometimes even the example I used about instructing and how, I'm like, oh, I have to make sure I have these 10 notes, but the students don't care. Like they don't even know what the 10 notes are if I miss something. There's also this idea, what I've shared with artists too, that we literally think that everybody's eyes is watching everything we do. And that's the part that I'm talking about, is that selfishness where you're like, oh, they must be, I'm sure that everyone is paying attention and everyone is
looking know,
with a magnifying glass. It's like, no, they're not. Like, you're legit not a high priority in everyone's mind.
Yeah. I mean, it's a separation.
Impossible for all of us to prioritize every single person that we know in our head. Like, that just doesn't even
absolutely
healthy.
No, you are 100% correct. You know, it's kind of one of those things where, like, you know, I guess just based on our own experiences in life, I can only experience life from my perspective.
Right.
And so, like, so no matter what I do, I'm always the center of everything that happens in the world. And you gotta have that, like, sort of like, you gotta like let that go. You have that empathy to go out there and like be like, okay, like,
yes,
let me not focus in on this, because, you know, me being super perfectionist about this thing, like I said, it's gonna hold other people up.
That's right.
Most people aren't even really going to notice it.
Then
it's just a for you thing, you know.
They're just not. You said it's not the you show. That's actually, let me add on to that. When you said it's not the you show, that's what I used to love when I first found out about YouTube. I thought it was such a funny name. It was like, YouTube, go figure.
Like, so yeah, right, yeah.
It's like, I understand that, okay,
but pop the bubble in my head. Yeah. That's kind of
something that you had mentioned earlier, as far as like when because you're 34, we all learned that very early in your interview, but
proud of it, you know. Scared, but I'm proud of it.
Yeah, absolutely. But as a child, you could not have foreseen what you would become in this moment. I'm going to add this on because when I heard it was life-changing for me to understand this. Okay. You could not have foreseen it because things were not invented back then that you use now.
True. Very true.
Yeah. And so, that blew my mind when I heard that, because sometimes we keep thinking that this, and this need to happen because that's what's going to make me successful. But then other things come into play. If new people are introduced in your life that give you new information, or you discover something new, or there's a new app, or like, so I just wanted to give a little light to that idea because I don't know, maybe because somebody needed to hear that, but always foresee, like, we can simply just nurture where we're at and then make the most of where we're at. And we can planning is good, but don't stress with the plan of what it is that you're learn to pivot. Planning. Yeah, because you may have to pivot that joint, and it may be for your good. That may be exactly for your good. It's like, okay, wow, I didn't know that this opportunity was available over here. Like, oh, well, then let me go in that direction.
100%.
So I had to say that, because when we were going down memory lane with different shows that we watched and all of that too, as a child, there was no YouTube. Okay. For me, there was no Instagram. There was no Facebook. There was no devices like how did I actually foresee that I would be doing it in this capacity? So just embracing that I loved talking as a child, and I loved having conversations. And my first interview was like when I was 5. It was my first interview. It was a quick interview for the news station. Okay. But at an early age, I knew to kind of connect with what you're saying. At an early age, I knew that I enjoyed the camera. I also enjoyed the microphone. I also enjoyed painting and drawing. I loved hand painting, the
figure painting.
Tempera. Is that the paint?
Tempera paint, I guess.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
It's safe. It's kid safe, so like,
sure. Yeah.
Basic things that we know, but we can't foresee. Even into high school, like, I didn't have a device. These are still things that did not exist. So, just adding that to give light, to embrace where we're at, the things that we do love. And, that's who I'm talking to. I'm talking to the artists who may be stressing about
the direction, the future.
I think maybe just thinking too far out, and it's like, if I haven't found a solution at this point in my life, then what's the point?
Mindfulness is very important. Yeah. I want to say mindfulness, being present in where you are is very important.
Say it, speak on it, Phillip. Why is it so important? Talk to us.
Because I will think ahead to the future. I will think ahead to 25 years from now, and it is all smoke and rubble. We're all burnt up. And you gotta really think about like where you are right now, because you don't enjoy it. I'm so busy worried about the future. I'm so busy worried about how this industry is going to collapse. I'm so worried about the sun exploding. I'm not even like, I can't even like, finish my drawing because I spent the whole day worrying about like what was going to happen 10 years from now.
Yeah.
Mindfulness is invaluable going forward in like 2020 onward. I'll just say 2020, but like, even before that.
Absolutely. But right here, right now, like where we're at, like being
here, right now.
Even just just the willingness to be more mindful. I think, and again, even with something like just being more aware, being more present, mindfulness, sometimes here goes the little game, the game from the ego, like, oh, that sounds like it's a whole lot of work, or that sounds like it may take forever and ever. Amen. It's like, what are you trying to be? Like, I'm sorry, are you trying to be an enlightened master in like 2 seconds like that? Like, just
exactly.
Stop. And then you now overthought the mindfulness. Like now you overthought being mindful.
You fail to be present. Exactly. Yeah. And I mean, like, and it's an ongoing thing because I still catastrophize. I still have imposter syndrome almost all the time. We can get into that. But like, where you're at right now. I mean, I don't want to be super rude. I don't know what your policies on cursing or something like that. But there's a good Death Grip song that at the very end of it, it's like, F where you're from, F where you're going. It's all about where you're at. And that's a good mantra, to keep in mind.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. That's so good. I mean, it's true. It's just true.
Yeah. And even if you're having a bad time now, I mean, I'm sure some people might be in a bad place at the moment, but like, good times, bad times, none of them last.
Yeah.
So like, do your best to be do your best to be present and
grateful.
Try and be as grateful. Gratitude is like it helps. It helps a lot.
Okay, hold on. So we're
getting real metaphysical, right?
Okay. No. This is good. This is fine because you mentioned, and I've never heard the verbiage that way. You said catastrophize, or how did you say it? But
catastrophize. Oh,
is that the word? So, did I pronounce it right?
That's right. Catastrophizing.
Okay.
Catastrophize. I have a lot of time while I'm drawing to like watch YouTube videos on like mental health and other things here and there, not just mental health, but other things.
Oh, okay.
But I'll stumble down that rabbit hole. Catastrophizing, basically just like just doom and gloom, like
right.
Oh, man,
so
like,
I figured it was I figured it was that. So I wanted to because catastrophe, and so you're catastrophizing, something like that.
Right?
But this is something, and for some of my listeners, they know that back in 2017, I went through a period of time where I was severely depressed, and and this is why I teach on this. This is why I have a class coming up on how to speak about your art, because even though I've been generally a very extroverted people person, there was a time in my life where I was like, nah, like for everything. Like, so I just shut down. I got off social media. I took a 1.5 year hiatus. I didn't want to deal with nobody, but that's a whole nother story. It was a very cloudy, doom and gloom, very fearful, very like touchy.
Were you going through a transition at the time? I guess I don't mean to prod, but like
no, absolutely. And now I'm not. It's not that I'm not okay with talking about it. It's just that it could be a bit extensive. That's all I'm saying. So I'm not
there's layers.
I'm not going to go all down the rabbit hole. But what I'm saying is that I did go through a time where I completely shut off from the world. I stayed at home as much as possible. I only went out to go to work, and it was just a rough patch. And during that time, I was doing that, the doom and gloom. I'm scared about things that I don't know why I'm scared about it. I'm scared to drive because something might happen. I'm scared.
Something will happen.
I'm scared to do a lot of things because something terrible is going to happen. And then I went and I was seeing a therapist for a few months, which shout out to that.
That's nice. That's good.
It's okay to see a therapist. It's healthy to see a therapist. It's great.
100%.
But
it's normal.
At that time, well, not for everyone.
Well, no,
like some people still need to hear that it's okay.
It is normal. It's totally fine. If you go to the doctor for a broken bone, you're going to need a doctor for your brain too.
Exactly.
Not just a neurologist.
There's no need to try to like be in your own head about it. But so linking to the strong worries and all of that, something that my therapist told me, and I thought it was pretty cool. So then I started trying it. So she said that every time I think of destructive, I think that's the word we were using, like a very destructive thought. Every time I have one, think of something that isn't even physically possible that could counter that. Okay. So for example, like if I'm driving over a bridge and I'm scared the bridge is going to collapse, right? Think of something that sounds so far-fetched that would counter it. So if the bridge collapsed, then I would think of, and during that time, the Black Panther came out in the movies, right?
Okay. Yeah, I was thinking.
So I would envision like the Black Panther and the big, like his big,
like the Wakandan, like the vibranium, like
the mobile thing. Like that would, that would catch me. So it would, in the moment of having the thought, I would like giggle because it's like, it was so far-fetched. So her point was that the amount of energy and focus that I'm giving to the worry, it's, that too is far-fetched. Like why is it so necessary? And it's like an envisioning. So now that I've envisioned the destructive thought, envision something really wild happening, like, oh, maybe the water will turn pink into pink ice and then like catch me. Like, I don't know, so you see what I'm saying?
No, I like that a lot. Yeah.
It gives you that moment like, oh, that's kind of crazy. And simply because you had the thought, you pulled it out. That was so
I'm
good.
Gonna be using that in the future. That's
I know.
Great, that's awesome. I love that.
It was so good. And so I just kept doing that until those thoughts just didn't even come to me anymore. It's like, because again, the ridiculous fictional element kicked in, and then it was a reminder of, well, isn't it ridiculous for me to even think of the doom and gloom too? So it's like, oh, okay. Not so bad.
All right then. I like that. Yeah,
it was good. It was so good.
Advice. That's really good. I should like that. Actually.
Yeah.
I mean, recorded, so I'm gonna be watching this.
Yeah, but for sure, because I had, or I still have my friend. She lives in New York. I shared that with her too, and she thought that was like hilarious because she was going through that where she's just having thoughts that were not favorable, and so I shared that with her. And she's like, she, of course, she was kind of like, that's kind of crazy, but then after she thought about it, she's like, you know what? That's actually pretty good. That
kind of helps. That's nice. Yeah, that's good. I love that.
It also gives you a moment to stretch your imagination, because again, you're using your imagination for the original thought. So now you're going to use your imagination to counter that thought.
There you go. All right. Creative exercises. I love it.
It's good. Yeah, it's good. It's good. Okay. We didn't went down that path, but y'all.
We're going.
I want to show y'all some of Phillip's work here, and podcasters, be sure to check out the YouTube video so you can see it. And of course, Phillip's links are in the description below. So Phillip, tell us a little bit about working for Lion Forge. And for some of us who don't know what that is, or what kind of, at least for me, that's something very serious. Like that's a big deal, So for those of us who don't have a clue what Lion Forge is, tell us a little bit about Lion Forge, and what you're doing, some current projects. And while you're doing that, I'm going to just show some of your artwork. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. I'm ashamed to say, though, I don't know the history of Lion Forge from like the jump. Its inception.
Don't worry about it. We're not that interested in the history. We just want to know, like, who is Lion Forge? Like, what is this?
Lion Forge, it's like an up and coming animation studio. Like I said earlier in the thing, they had the Hair Love Oscar.
Hair Love, yes.
Feature. They've got Sing Out. They've done some stuff for like I want to say like Sesame Street.
Okay.
Do you remember the woman who spoke during was it Joe Biden's inauguration? She gave that poem. She was dressed in yellow. She had the red.
Okay.
But anyways, I did an animation also based on her. They worked with her as well. From what I understand, they've done like
oh my goodness,
some animated features here and there.
Right.
Oh yeah, that's a fun one too. That's with IDW. We could get into that too, like a little later on. But yeah, live voice animation. Right now, I'm currently working on a comic, or not comic, but an animated series based on a comic called Ianu and the Age of Wonders.
Yes. Wait, that actually sounds very familiar. Would I know that? Would I know what that is?
It's got its own Instagram page. It's been the posters have been up, or some promo images have been up here and there. It's definitely like if you search for it, you'll start to find it around the internet space. And the closer we get to where the closer we get to like the series premiere in 2024, you're gonna probably see a lot more about it. I'll be posting about it too.
Okay. All right. It just sounded familiar. I'm not sure, like I said, should I even know anything about it? But that name, Ianu?
Ianu. So,
Ianu?
Yes, exactly.
Familiar.
IYANU is her name. And it's a
okay.
IYANU.
Okay.
And it's a chosen one story, little girl, she has to come to terms with her powers, and stop her like sort of world from being like overtaken by like a great like darkness that's coming.
Okay.
A sort of monster from the past is coming back to like enact its like sort of like grand master plan.
Yeah.
To sort of take over like sort of like it's set in West Africa, like a sort of like fantasy back in the day kind of West Africa. So like all black cast, a lot of Nigerian culture, Yoruba culture.
My goodness, really?
The guy who wrote it, Roy, he's our like cultural, like he wrote the series and he's like our cultural expert. So it's really fun working on the project because I'm learning a lot as I go along.
I believe it. Yes, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's really cool.
I very knowledgeable.
It's fun to do more. We also have another artist who worked with Roy, Godwin. He's also great in terms of like, like this wouldn't look like this. These characters would probably behave this way. Because the fighting style that's in this animated series is capoeira. And I mean,
I never heard
this. Before this, I didn't know a whole lot about capoeira. Do you ever play Tekken?
What is it called?
Capoeira. It's like a sort of like rhythmic, sort of like fighting, sort of. It's like a dance.
I'm gonna lean on no.
Sure. If you've seen breakdancing, some of the sort of like moves in breakdancing come from capoeira. So
are you going to demonstrate that for us, or?
I am not that rhythmically. Like I put all my skill points into drawing. I've got barely any rhythm. If you get a couple drinks in, I might pull something out. But like,
okay, go ahead.
But there's an emphasis on capoeira because in a lot of like anime and a lot of like cartoons, you'll see a lot of punching and a lot of kicking and a lot of like Eastern martial arts. Capoeira is like a sort of like African martial art. So you're gonna, animating that's a bit of a challenge because like we don't have a lot of like reference for like the characters have to constantly keep in movement and you have to like sort of like it's a challenge. I'm
okay. It looked like you were showing the technique to us. So that moment.
Two of the people on our project are very good at capoeira. So like, and like I said,
your shoulders are stiff, Philip. Your shoulders are stiff.
Yeah. Oh God, I'm like a robot on the dance floor. It's terrible. Like a bad robot, not the good.
Oh my God, a bad robot. Okay, got you.
Malfunctioning robot.
But that's really insightful, though. I mean, that's information I didn't know, and you are getting more knowledgeable. That's
I can't wait for the show to come out so like more people can like maybe get into these things. and learn more and expand,
yes.
The cultural, like, sort of like, identity of like West African culture. Like, I'm not the spokesperson for it, but I'm really happy to be a part of the journey and getting
huge.
to bring that to everybody. And I'm also working with, you just interviewed Obi, Corey. I'm sorry, I keep going on Obi Games Day. Corey.
I'm sure he's good with either one. But yes, so, right? Obi, I just had that interview too. So yeah, you are deep in the projects with it. Yeah,
I'm stay busy. We had a hard time getting this started because I'm doing like every project under the sun, over promising myself too many different things. But yeah, Shaolin Moore's.
Yes.
Just wrapping up the art on that. Since I started the TV job, it's been difficult to like sort of like balance. So like I've been a little slow on that.
Right.
But we're gonna roll that.
It's still an exciting project too.
I'm looking forward to seeing it done because like we've got a lot of like, because it's a pipeline now. We've got it on a pipeline. We've got a colorist. We've got an inker, and seeing what other people bring to the table, brings to the work, I think makes it like way better than I could have done by myself.
Good. Yeah. And let me add that too, being open to having other people help you. That's huge. And now I've had other people as part of my team, or if I need something with customer service, or I need like whatever that looks like. But I'm definitely leaning more into the like having what's that?
Yeah. Collaboration.
Yes, to where I can cool my jets, you know what I'm saying? And because me taking it's actually just energy management, my own energy, and just realizing, what, when for example, if I have an interview, there is a certain amount of energy that's put into that interview. There's preparation, just mentally getting prepared. And, if there are any notes for example, but I mean, I love interviews.
Sure. Yeah.
But it's still just understanding I don't have to lead all of these things. Like someone else can take the reins. Someone else can, absolutely. You can get that support. Yes. Like give me that support all day.
Yeah. And you can really dive into like the part that you're good at too. Like you free your
focus
time,
on creativity.
Really, zoom into like the thing that you love the most about the project.
Yes.
Because every project's got like a bunch of bits that you don't like about it. So like that's like, it's nice to like have someone else to like do their thing.
I'm telling you.
Project that you're not. Yeah.
Well, absolutely. I want to lean into that a little bit more. And I'm really excited, of course, about what you shared as far as Shaolin Moore's is concerned. And of course, working with Lion Forge and, different projects with that. That's huge. That's very exciting. And if anything, that's a great fuel to be backed with, is to say that you're actually experiencing something now that you used to wish that you could experience. And so now you have, you know what I'm saying? So that's that's very charging. That's very charging.
It's really like, absolutely. On those hard days, when I've got to stay up overnight or something like that, and I'm chugging vegetable juice and coffee, it's always nice.
That's a terrible combination, but please go ahead.
It tastes terrible, but it feels good.
Vegetable juice and coffee. Okay,
vegetable juice and coffee and water.
Respect.
Yeah, whatever it takes to get to the end of the night. Or something like that.
I respect it. I'm just saying. I was just sharing my point of view. I'm like, I don't know, but go ahead.
No, it tastes terrible for anybody else. I have the worst taste buds. But like it's oh geez, man. Now I'm on
okay. Oh, go ahead.
I got it. I just snapped back. It's nice knowing that I'm doing the thing that I wanted to do when I was a kid. It's nice to know that like the dream survived up until this point.
Yeah, that's big.
Even when it's hard, even when it hurts, even when like it feels like I'm crying blood or something like that. I'm still living the dream.
But see, on top of that's the gratitude, the still having that glimpse of gratitude is still, that's so critical. And I'm glad you shared that, and connecting to that, having other people help you. I know there's this kind of these little thoughts that some artists have, that if you don't do everything from square one all the way to the finished project, then you're not a real artist. Excuse me, give me help all day, every day. If I have an idea it like that, not only that, let me say this, and I'm hoping that my listeners are receiving this gently when I say this. That actually makes you more powerful when you allow others to step in those ideas that you have. You're bringing them in, or they're
being
stepping in, whatever
like,
that looks like. That makes that allows the power to really be fueled and amplified because now other people are involved. You know what I'm saying? Like you're laying out a platform for other people to give their ideas, share things that you didn't think of. And if we can say this, they're better at certain things than you are. Like that's like a real thing, you know? So it's like, here, please take the mic. You have the mic, like you know?
And I'll even like throw that in. I'll even throw it in on the project that we're working on, Ianu. We have different like directors, people who are good at showing emotion, people who are really great at action, people who are fantastic at just like compositions, and they all help to like enhance the project. I make suggestions all the time to the guy who wrote the story, and he's like, "Oh, that would be a cool suggestion to like." Instead of firing a beam, you know, it's an animal themed beam or something like that. It's not like, you know, it's not a groundbreaking decision, but like, you know, having someone else there now, it's kind of like, oh, we can enhance this, you know, aspect that nobody was really thinking about.
Right.
So it's kind of like, you know, bits and pieces get filled in.
Right. Got you.
When you work together. So that's always kind of nice. That's always fun.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, it's also part of being open-minded too, I think, you know, just being open-minded. That ego. Yeah.
Okay. That's
I know, right? Okay. All right. So let's
trapped in ego all the time.
Let's continue. Yes. And thank you so much for bringing us up to speed with the things that you're working on now and really embracing the excitement that comes with that. Yes, there are going to be some times that feel very like, you know, all is quiet, or I'm all in my zone or whatever. But then I also feel like when you do have those times, it will allow you to be more amplified when it's time for you to do something else, like fill in the blank, whatever that looks like. So those times that it's just kind of like cool, it's quiet, or don't get too in your head when it's cool and quiet. But it's almost like it's a time for peace. Like there's a time for the peace to just be like at peace on an audio level, you know, so where it's just like, it's peaceful. You're just doing your work. You know, there's a lot of people, and you may have experienced that, where they work in places where it's highly distracting, very noisy. There's just a lot going on. They're dealing with customers sun up to sundown. So then again, like just having that gratitude, be like, you know what? I'm in my, do you name the room you're in like a studio? Like, do you name your like, do you call your room something, like the room that you're like office, or like, what does that look like for you real quick? It just came to me. I don't know why, but go ahead.
Aside from that, it's the computer room. I don't have like a name for it, like the workspace or anything like that. It's the computer room. It's the only house, you know, it's the only room in the house with a desktop computer.
Let me say this. Can I say this to y'all real quick? Because our conversation, we're going to play the word game in a moment. Okay.
There you go.
Phillip, like at least the room that we're in, the room that you call the computer room.
The room that we're currently in, yes.
It literally looks, not the room itself either. I'm just using it as, I'm not saying that the room is this way. I'm saying,
I'm ready to get offended.
Okay. More of you. Like when I look at your work, right. I would not, what are you drinking out of? Okay. When I look at your work.
Sorry, I'm drinking off camera.
When I look at your work, I would not think that you would just call the room that you're in a computer room. Like it feels like there should be, not should be. Yeah, I'll say that. In
like a name for it or something like that.
It feels like there should be more of like I don't know, because the work that you do, is, it's like it carries it. I don't know. Okay, y'all listeners,
maybe like an energy or like a chaos or something.
Your work feels like it's more of a reflection of how you think, or how your imagination works. It just may not be. I don't know. Okay.
Maybe it's not reflected in my like outside.
It's not reflected. And I'm not saying that's whatever. I'm just saying that that's what I'm experiencing. Like, so if you name a character, Like, let's just say you pick a name for a character that you're doing, an OC. I don't know, but let's just say in that moment you're doing your own thing, right? So in my head, I'm thinking like, oh, do you have like a name for the room you're in? And I'm thinking you might call that room, I don't know, like some kind of name or some, so to me, that's what I'm saying. It's like, to me, I'm thinking of like, oh, what it should be, not saying it should be what I'm thinking. I'm just telling you in my head, I'm like, oh, is this called something, but I don't know.
I think I'm like the most like normie presenting like artist, around town. Like,
let me say that. Hold on. Also, if someone saw you right now, they may not even imagine remotely that you do the work. Have you experienced that? Where someone is like, you did this? Like for
every time I show people my work, they're kind of just like, did you draw? You drew the whole thing? Like, you drew this? Like, it's just like, yeah, that's what I do. I think it's like, I always know what I'm doing. I think it's like I'm in my head a lot. So all my fun, wacky chaos fun is in here. It's
in there, right.
The rest of it is just, white walls. I'm actually at a temporary spot too, so I can't post any posters here. But even then, like the house that I was in beforehand, I wouldn't have had like many posters up or anything like that. I want to like collect figures, but then I get to this thing where I'm like, where am I going to put them? And I really like this like stuff, but where am I going to put it? Like, I've got a lot of books, but they're like locked up in like book trunks and stuff like that. And even like once I'm in like my place is probably still going to be locked up in a book trunk or something like that.
Right. So yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. And there's nothing, there's nothing wrong with that. It's right for you if that's right for you. But I can certainly gauge that. I can gauge that, like, like maybe your whole, maybe the whole wall behind you would have had like this big drawing. like this.
I might have thrown up a poster or two. I'd love to get into decorating design.
But you know what? Hey, sometimes our taste changes. Let me add that too, because how I used to have all the artwork on the walls behind me. I don't know if you remember.
That's right. Yeah.
I used to have all of that. My taste has evolved, and there are certain things that I still have them. Of course, I still keep them, but they're in a different room in my house. So it just doesn't resonate for me to have it on that wall. Like, so it is what it is. What I'm relating to you, because sometimes people, my friends that come over, they expect to see paintings. They expect, because that's what I talk about.
They want to see.
Yeah. So I can relate. I can relate. And for me, it's like, no, I don't necessarily, I realize that I don't need to have so much of that. I know what I do. This is what I do. I live it. I breathe it. Like my dwelling is my dwelling. It
is what and most of the time I've had to like share space with other people too. So like I've sort of learned over time to sort of just like keep it all to me, I guess. Yeah, basically, I guess. But that might be that too. I might just be adapting to like living with other people.
Right. And how you don't have to have it up. And
I don't have like if I get my own place or if I get my own house, then who knows what's going to happen. I might be painting the walls, all kinds of different colors.
Yeah.
When you get to stretch out, who knows what's going to happen.
Yeah, but you
mostly renting apartments and all that. So.
And let that be then, like let that be that time. But I will say I still would not have foreseen that you call that the computer room or not even call it anything. No, that's
just a matter of fact.
All right, so let's go ahead. And well, before we dive into the word game,
a lot of mess. I'll say that.
What's that?
So there's a lot of mess, and if that's a thing, then there's a ton of mess.
Okay,
it looks great here, but I just want to add that in there.
Okay, so you are comedy. All right, so we're going to dive into the word game, y'all, and. Before we dive into it, I wanted to say thank you so much for sharing your journey, your experiences, moments that were challenges, the perfectionist situation, of course, still growing and evolving with time management, learning to think of funny things when it comes to the doom and gloom moment, like maybe you can,
I learned something there too myself.
Picture like a Powerpuff Girl coming to fix the problem. like, what if my tire blows out? Well, if my tire blows out, then, Bubbles, the Powerpuff Girl, is going to come and fix it. It's all good.
There you go. It works out. I love it.
I'm telling you. Yes, I love that. So
That's super
smart. Let's dive into the word game. And for some of y'all, you know that I aim to grab certain words from the interview for the word game. Mm-hmm. So a reminder of the word game is that I say a word, Phillip will respond with the first thing that comes to mind within 2 to 3 seconds. If you can't think of something, then just say pass and we'll keep it moving.
All right.
Okay. All right. So the first word is journey.
Art. Sorry. Okay. This is going to be a real.
What did you said art?
I said art. Okay. Yeah. Because I mean, I guess that's
wrong answer now. Everything is a right answer. It's right. If you think it's right, I think it's right.
It's been my journey. Yeah.
Okay, yes. Right. Okay. That's good.
Creative. I got
okay. Yes. Right. Wait, did you just change your answer like 3 times? What were you saying?
I throw out a lot of like explanations. I over-explain things.
I was wondering, I'm like, wait, what? Wait, what's going on? All right. So the next word is stick.
Bug. You know, like the stick
okay, now like real quick, that came from when you were talking about your mom and she would draw stick figures. So I just picked the word.
Oh, okay.
But so tell us about bug. Why did bug come to mind?
I guess like, you ever think about that movie A Bug's Life? I think about that movie A Bug's Life a lot. One of the characters was like a stick bug. And it was like it was a really creative movie too. Like I loved all the designs.
I did not see the movie. I'm familiar with the movie, but look at your face. I'm familiar with the movie, but I enjoy. Oh wait, are you good?
My headphones died. Can you still hear me?
Oh yeah, I can hear you. Yeah, I can hear you. Okay, yeah, that's fine. I'm familiar with the movie. I was just laughing at how you said you think about that movie a lot. So I don't know what a lot means, but it still sounded funny. All right, so the next word is dentist. Dentist.
What's his name? Astro Boy. Is that 2 words? Is it 2 words or 1 word?
It's acceptable. It's okay. Yeah, it's acceptable. Because you had said that about the what was his position? The guy who did Astro Boy.
I'm gonna look his name. He was a dentist. But it's not Otomo, but it's
no. I was asking what he did for Astro Boy. He was a dentist and a fill in the blank. Director?
Tezuka. Osamu Tezuka, he's the creator of Astro Boy.
Oh, creator. Okay. See, that's what's up. Okay. So Astro Boy. Next word is mindful.
Mind powers.
Powers. Okay.
Yeah. Mind power. That kind of
okay.
works,
I was thinking like telekinesis or something like.
I'm thinking that too, but now I'm kind of we're really working through it.
The mental plane. Yeah. Yes. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Power. I'm with that. All right. Nice. Grateful.
Dead. Like the Grateful Dead.
I'm familiar. I am familiar. I just think that's interesting. Oh, see, that's why I like the word game, because it's just interesting. It's an interesting moment, but I'm still familiar with the Grateful Dead. Okay.
Okay. All right. We're getting into
yes. All right. So now, actually, we're gonna play. We're going to do a back and forth. This is the first time I'm going to try this. I may do this on another interview. My next interview, I may try this, but it's a word ping pong. Real quick, okay? And it'll end whenever it ends. But I'm going to start with a word. You're going to say a word. Then I'm going to respond with the first word that comes to mind for me. Okay. And then you're going to respond with a word. And then it's going to be back and forth for a little bit. All right? Okay. So I'll start off with the word.
Okay.
Okay. Gem.
Hologram.
Show.
Turtle.
Cartoon.
Mutant.
Teenage.
Shark.
Oh, terrible.
Mummy.
Egypt.
Is that it?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so it's over now because you were taking too long. I just made up a rule. Because I wasn't sure when it was gonna end. So yeah, sure. I guess that could be the rule, is like whomever takes the longest to, like, if it's more than 4 seconds, then the game is over, I guess.
Okay, all right then. I kind of, not gonna lie, just kind of went through like 90s cartoons, I'm sure, as you noticed. So
you're starting to do a little trend?
I was kind of doing a trend. Street Sharks, Mummies Alive.
No, I didn't. No, I didn't pick up on that. Nope. I got caught up on the teenage, mutant ninja, like the turtle that. But I mean, but then after that, I was like, oh, okay, a mummy, okay.
It's all part of that, like, sort of this genre that came out in the 90s of like mutant animals with like abs who would like fight against whatever,
I didn't know that was a thing that was happening. I only know of the the Ninja Turtles, like that. Those were the only ones. At least I can't think of anything else. I don't even think I just knew of anything else. If I knew of others, then I'm sure I would know, but I can't think of anything.
Sure. I think that's where my mind is most of the time, just like old cartoons and stuff like that. There was, what was it? Extreme Dinosaurs. There was Gargoyles. People like Gargoyles. Did you ever watch Gargoyles?
Oh yeah, I wouldn't watch it, but I was familiar with that. Yeah, some cartoons were too hard. Like I'm a girl. I mean, if you want to I'm just telling you what I'm thinking. And so for me, some of those cartoons were like a little too some. Okay. Don't get me wrong. Like I watched, the Ninja Turtles. I watched Batman. I love to watch Batman. But I think the physique of some of like the gargoyles, like that seemed like a little too
out there,
too rough for me. Like too like, I mean, I don't know how to describe it.
And that's good to know, because I always think that like kids ate that stuff up. I've never met somebody who I've never considered somebody who doesn't like that sort of thing. And like they tell me a lot when I'm doing storyboards, I guess, or they tell me a lot when I'm doing storyboards. I try to make things like kind of scary sometimes, and they're just kind of like, Phillip, it's a show for children. Like the drool coming down their teeth, kind of like, like whatever, like that's too. So I'm just being. I don't know. I mean, all I can say is that there were certain things that just did not resonate with me. So that's all I can say. The Gargoyles, that didn't resonate with me, but I mean, at the same time I was playing Contra, on the Nintendo, so it's like, it's kind of hard for me to explain, but all I can say is like that didn't click, but there was something else that clicked, but I, enjoy the Powerpuff Girls a little later on. And, maybe Johnny Bravo or whatever, so it just kind of varied, I guess, I mean. Yeah. Well, I've been on like cartoons since I was a kindergartner. So I've been like knee deep in it. Like I remember most of them.
Yes.
I can't remember, but like I'm real tuned in.
Literally. Tuned in. Okay. Pun intended. All right, Phillip, it has been an absolute pleasure. So tell us, is there anyone that you want to give a shout out to? Is there any special plug that you want to give before we wrap it up?
Shout outs to Obi. He's doing his Kickstarter now. So like, let's get that, going. Let's get some money.
Snap. Absolutely.
I mean, the same people from like last time, C Night Art, Mike Tony Art, Super Mega Dopey Dope.
Well, again, not everybody knows about the last interview now. This is the first time for some of us. So give us those fresh shout outs. We got C Night Art. Who else we got?
All right, we got Mike Tony Design. We've got Super Mega Dopey Dope. Great people. Book Jackson Art. And I'm probably butchering some of these names, but man, there's like a million people. I know. Jack the Jackrabbit is my boy. Nicole Hamilton, she does pretty cool stuff. Man, I really be Nicole Ham. She does like cool, like fun, like kind of like 90s style, like gross, like gross, but stuff like, I don't know. It's just my vibe. So like I like her. Stuff. Aqua Bunny. If you
are these all Instagram? They're all Instagram folks on Instagram?
Absolutely. She's one of my favorite out there right now. Her stuff.
Real quick, are any of them? I know some of them are not, but then I'm also curious: are some of them in the Richmond area?
I do know that Aqua Bunny is. Maybe she might not be, but I met her at a convention in Richmond.
Oh,
yeah. So she's really good too.
Well, I'm gonna have to check her out. I want to say that too. I am being more intentional to connect with local artists. So much more intentional for sure.
Yeah.
Cool.
Lucky when like you meet somebody who's like in the area too, who's just like, that's always kind of nice. It's because
yes, yeah.
or New York.
We're going to get you out. Oh, okay. Wait a minute. I just thought about something. I will message you after this. And again, but I'll message you information on this, Phillip, about something that is happening in Richmond. So we'll coordinate that. So yes, thanks. We're going to stay on, listeners. Phillip and I are going to stay on, but we're going to say bye to you first. Okay. So thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you click all the links in the description. Learn more about Phillip Johnson, his journey, AKA End of Days on Mars, and support him. Just support. Support is huge. And there's more than enough support for all of us. So the more that you're showing support for someone else's growth, the more that you can open yourself up to receive that support. You know what I'm saying? Because there is more than enough. It doesn't cost anything. It's just the energy of support. So we appreciate y'all. To the podcasters, again, go to YouTube, check it out, watch the video, and get those visuals of Phillip's work. So we appreciate y'all. So bye. We're going to say peace, y'all. Bye.
Yeah.
Creatives, it has been both a pleasure and an honor to have you sit in on our conversation today. So will you be the next artist interviewed? Visit respecttheartist.com/artist-interviews to learn more. And hopefully I'll see you soon. RTA stands for Respect the Artist. Love y'all.